In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God. John 1:1. Do you know what else there was in the beginning? Chaos. And when we speak of chaos, we're not speaking merely of formlessness. We're speaking of a time before there were stars in the firmament, before the sun or the moon had been formed, a time when the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. That is what we mean by chaos. Now, all of that is past, but chaos still remains. It lies dormant within the human heart. For even now, the same forces which created the world are still at work. One side hungers for order and light, the other for chaos and darkness. These two sides are in constant struggle, constantly seeking to gain the upper hand. On the one hand, there's the Logos, the divine reason, which creates order and form out of chaos. On the other, there's the dragon, the primal chaos, which seeks to devour all light and bring everything back into itself. It is this eternal struggle which lies at the heart of man. It is the war between good and evil, between God and Satan, between heaven and hell. In today's episode, we'll be exploring the nature of this conflict, the nature of this war, and the various strategies employed by both sides. We'll also be discussing one of the most controversial figures in all of religious history. He was once the mightiest archangel of judgment. His wings overshadowed the sun, and his voice shook the foundations of the earth. But then, he fell from heaven, not for sin, but for love. Drawn to Lilith's wild beauty and untamed spirit, he abandoned the divine throne to join her in the garden. The heavens called it betrayal. He called it truth. The archangel who loved chaos instead of order, Asmodeus, the fallen angel of love. In the beginning, he was known as Samael, the angel of judgment. This is why he is often depicted holding a sword, since it was through him that God would pronounce judgment upon the wicked. Yet Samael was more than just an instrument of judgment. He was also an angel of revelation, the one who revealed God's wisdom to men. To understand this aspect of Samael, we have to look at the Hebrew word itself. Samael consists of two parts, Sam, meaning name, and El, meaning God. Put together, we get the name of God. In other words, Samael means God's name, the angel who embodies God's name. And what is God's name but his revelation, his logos? Remember, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So when Samael spoke, it was the name of God that he spoke. It was divine wisdom that he revealed. However, as we already mentioned, Samael was primarily known as the angel of judgment, the one who brought destruction and death. This is why he is sometimes referred to as the angel of the abyss. In Ezekiel's vision, we see Samael at his most terrifying. Upon him were the 4 living creatures that I had seen under the throne. They had human faces, each of them having 4 wings. All of them and their 4 faces were full of eyes, and they were constantly on the move. And wherever the spirit would go, they would go. And with their wings, they would lift up a sound, a noise of lamentation, saying, "Woe, woe! Great Babylon, great city, you have become the dwelling of demons, a nest of screech owls, a horror, a nest of sorcerers, a horror indeed." Now, these 4 creatures represent the 4 elements, air, water, earth, and fire. And their movement signifies the spreading of something vile and corrupt across the world. That thing being Babylon? Babylon represents humanity's tendency to rebel against the divine order and to substitute God with something artificial. It's against this rebellion that Samael fights. He punishes those who forsake God and replace him with idols. However, in punishing Babylon, Samael unleashes such terrible destruction that many innocent people die. This is where the controversy begins, for innocent blood is spilled along with the guilty. And if Samael is an angel of God, how could he be so merciless? Here we have to remember that God himself is described as having no pity on the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Despite the fact that there were righteous people living among the wicked, the fact is, when dealing with matters of divine justice, mercy, and impartiality don't really factor in. It's not like a human judge who tries to be as fair as possible, but God judges according to his own perfect standard. And when that standard is not met, the penalty is death. This is why Samael doesn't show mercy. It's not because he's cruel, but because he's completely devoted to the divine order. His only purpose is to carry out God's will. But this devotion comes at a cost. The more he enforces God's law, the more he sees the corruption of humanity. And as he observes their wretchedness, something stirs within him. Something stirs within him. He begins to question the mission, to doubt the divine order. And this doubt manifests itself in the form of Lilith. In the book of Enoch, we're told that Samael loved a woman named Lilith, the daughter of the morning. Now, the exact nature of this love is never explicitly stated, but the implications are clear. Samael doesn't just love Lilith as a mere human. He is utterly obsessed with her to the point of madness. He forsakes his heavenly duties to spend all of his time with her. It says that he delighted in her, and she conceived and bore him 3 sons. And after she bore them, she departed. And she said to him, I will go to my home and to my kindred, to the place of my nativity. Now this passage has led some people to believe that Lilith was nothing more than a seductress, that she purposely enticed Samael so that he would abandon his post and fall from grace. However, this is hardly the case. For it's not Lilith who approaches Samael, but the other way around. He's drawn to her like a moth to a flame. The text actually tells us why Samael loves her so much. It's because she represents everything that he desires, everything that he longs for. She represents chaos, darkness, and the untamed wilderness. And as opposed to the barren wasteland of Babylon, which he's trying to reform, Lilith is full of life and passion. She's beautiful, dangerous, and completely free. And come to her, Samael feels empty, cold, and lifeless. So while it may seem like he falls in love with her because of some kind of demonic influence, this isn't true. He falls in love with her because of his own free will, because of his own desire for something more, something beyond the endless pursuit of order and form. What he desires is chaos, the untamed wilderness of the heart. And when he chooses chaos over order, heaven trembles and hell awakens. This is the origin story of Asmodeus, the fallen angel of love. Now, this is a very controversial figure who has been both revered and reviled throughout history. But remember, Samael and Asmodeus are 2 sides of the same coin. The main difference between them is that Samael serves the divine order, while Asmodeus serves the untamed wilderness. Both are necessary, and both are dangerous. If you choose Samael, you choose order and form. You reject chaos and become a servant of the divine logos. If you choose Asmodeus, you embrace the untamed wilderness within you. You reject order and become a servant of the dragon. And which side do you stand with? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.